What if the moment your life finally makes sense is the very moment you have lost everything worth keeping? Imagine a structure, a building you have spent decades constructing, brick by painful brick, only to realize that the foundation was laid on a fault line you refused to acknowledge. We spend our lives running from the tremor, yet the tremor is the only thing that is actually real. There is a specific type of silence that descends when a life begins to unravel, the silence that most people mistake for the end of the world, when in fact, it is the first time the world has actually begun to speak. You have been told that a crisis is an interruption, a malfunction in an otherwise healthy trajectory. But this is a lie that 99% of the world believes because the alternative is too terrifying to contemplate. They look for the cause in the economy, in a failed marriage, or in a chemical imbalance, and they seek to fix it so they can return to the person they were before the storm hit. They want to go back to the safety of the harbor, never realizing that the harbor was actually a cage. It is not because of your bad luck that you find yourself in the dark, nor is it because you lacked the willpower to keep the fragments of your life held together. The real reason for your descent has to do with something that is in front of you right now, something so close to your eyes that it has become invisible, a psychic parasite you have mistaken for your own soul. By the time we reach the end of this observation, you will understand that the catastrophe you are currently enduring is not a tragedy to be avoided, but a brutal, necessary execution of the person you were never meant to be. The ground beneath you is not solid. It is merely a thin crust of habit and denial. We walk upon it with a confidence that is entirely unearned, ignoring the heat rising from the depths. The ego, that small, fragile island of consciousness, believes it is the master of the sea simply because it has not yet been submerged. But the sea is patient. The silence you feel now, that ringing in your ears after the collapse of a dream or the loss of a title, is the sound of the ego's heartbeat failing. It is the beginning of an observation that will not allow you to look away. You are no longer the actor on the stage. You have become the witness to your own disintegration, and for the first time in your life, you are seeing the stage for what it is, a hollow construction. We are born into a narrative that is not our own. From the first breath, the world begins to drape the persona over our shoulders, a heavy, ornate cloak designed to make us recognizable to others while rendering us unrecognizable to ourselves. You call this your identity. You call it your career, your reputation, your character. In reality, it is a sophisticated prison. The persona is a functional necessity, a bridge between the inner chaos and the outer social order. But we have made the fatal mistake of moving our furniture onto the bridge and trying to live there. We have forgotten that the bridge was meant to be crossed, not inhabited. The cost of this continuity is a psychic tax that grows more expensive every year. You spend your 20s building the mask, your 30s maintaining its polish, and by your 40s, the mask has begun to fuse with your skin. The energy required to keep the lie of your stability alive is energy stolen from the soul. You wonder why you were tired. You wonder why the things that used to bring you joy now feel like chores. It is because you are carrying the weight of an unlived life, a vast reservoir of potential, shadow, and desire that has been dam-oped up behind the wall of your social respectability. The pressure of that reservoir is what you are feeling now. It is not stress. Stress is a shallow word used by those who are afraid of depth. What you are experiencing is the structural failure of the persona. The unlived life is demanding to be seen, and it does not care if it destroys your reputation to get your attention. It is the hidden weight of every no you said when you meant yes, and every yes you said to avoid a conflict. This accumulation of suppressed truth has become a geological force, a tectonic plate shifting beneath the floor of your house. You think the crisis is coming from the outside, but the call is coming from within the walls. Every morning you wake up and perform the ritual of becoming yourself. You put on the clothes, you rehearse the opinions, you prepare the smile. But there is a growing gap between the performance and the performer. You are starting to see the wires. You are starting to hear the prompter's voice. This is the first stage of the rift. The moment when the social lie can no longer sustain the biological and psychic reality of the human animal. You are realizing that you have traded your soul for a seat at a table where no one actually knows your name. The first symptom of the void is not pain. It is a strange, cold indifference. You look at the life you have built, the house, the car, the family, the accolades, and you feel as though you are looking at a museum exhibit of someone else's existence. This is the rifting of the self. The reflection in the mirror has stopped recognizing you because you have stopped inhabiting the reflection. You have become a ghost in your own machine. This depersonalization is the psyche's way of preparing you for the coming fire. It is detaching the I from the me, so that when the me burns, something might survive. You will try to fix this. Of course you will. You will buy things, you will change your environment, you will seek out new relationships or delve into the latest pharmaceutical numbing agents. You will treat the crisis as a technical problem to be solved with better management. But the external fix is a fool's errand. You cannot repair a spiritual hemorrhage with a bandage made of material things. The hole in your center is not the shape of a new job or a new lover. It is the shape of the abyss itself. When the external world fails to provide the distraction you crave, the panic sets in. This is the moment when the crisis moves from the periphery to the core. You realize that the structure is not just cracked, it is liquefying. The logical mind, the ego's most trusted advisor, begins to fail. It offers solutions that feel hollow. It points to your past successes as proof that you are okay, but the voice sounds like it's coming from the bottom of a well. The logic that got you here is the very logic that is now trapping you. You cannot think your way out of a problem that was created by your thoughts. The descent is now inevitable. You are losing the ability to pretend, and that is the most dangerous thing that can happen to a social creature. When you lose the ability to lie to yourself, the world loses its power over you, but it also loses its ability to protect you. You are standing on the edge of the known, looking into a darkness that has no bottom, and for the first time, you realize that the ground you thought was solid was actually just a thin layer of ice over a very deep, very cold lake, and the ice is breaking. As the ego's control slips, something else begins to stir in the basement of the psyche. This is the return of the repressed, the shadow. For years, you have pushed the unacceptable parts of yourself into the dark. Your anger, your lust, your cowardice, your primitive cravings, your raw ambition. All of it was deemed too dangerous for the persona you were trying to maintain. You thought you had buried them, but you were only fertilizing them. In the darkness, they have grown strong, and now, as the walls of your life crumble, they are breaking through the floorboards. Your morality, that collection of rules you use to keep yourself feeling superior, is now your greatest weakness. You have used your goodness as a shield against the truth of your nature. But the shadow does not care about your morality. It cares about wholeness. It is the predator in the mirror, the one who watches you while you sleep, waiting for the moment when your will is too weak to keep the door shut. This is not a demon in the theological sense. It is a part of your own soul that you have starved, and it is now very, very hungry. Confronting the shadow during a crisis is like being locked in a room with a wild animal that has your face. It knows your every secret. It knows every time you were cruel while pretending to be kind. It knows the smallness of your spirit. The crisis has stripped away your defenses, leaving you naked before this internal judge. This is why the crisis feels like ruin. It is the destruction of your self-image. You are forced to admit that you are not the hero of your own story, but a complex, often contradictory, and sometimes malevolent force. The shadow does not offer comfort. It offers reality. It tells you that the crisis is actually a liberation from the exhausting effort of being a saint who doesn't exist. It invites you to look at the wreckage of your life and see it not as a failure, but as an honest expression of your inner state. The ruin is the first honest thing you have ever built. To integrate the shadow is to accept that you are capable of everything you despise in others. This is the bitterest pill to swallow, but it is the only one that can cure the sickness of the persona. In the ancient art of alchemy, there is a stage called the nigredo, the blackening. It is the state where the base material is broken down, rotted, and reduced to a dark, chaotic mass. This is exactly where you are. Your world image has died. The map you used to navigate reality has been burned, and you are standing in a landscape that has no landmarks. This is the psychological meaning of absolute terror. It is not the fear of something happening. It is the fear of nothing being there. It is the realization that the universe is indifferent to your survival. The ego will scream for hope. It will beg for a sign, a light at the end of the tunnel, a reason to keep going. But in the nigredo, hope is a distraction. Hope is a way of avoiding the present reality of your dissolution. To truly move through this crisis, you must abandon the desire for things to return to normal. Normal was the problem. Normal was the slow death you were dying before the catastrophe arrived. You must sit in the blackness and allow it to consume the last vestiges of your vanity. This is the state of total loss of meaning. You look at the stars and feel no wonder, only the coldness of the distance. You look at your achievements and see only dust. This nihilism is a necessary stage of the process. It is the clearing of the land before a new structure can be built. But there is no guarantee that a new structure will be built. This is what makes it a true crisis and not just a learning experience. You are in the belly of the whale, and the whale has no intention of spitting you out until you have been completely digested. The fear of going crazy that often accompanies this stage is actually the fear of the ego's death. The I that you think you are is dying, and from its perspective, that is the end of everything. But the I is not the totality of your being. It is merely a small, frightened part of a much larger psychic system. The nigredo is the process of that larger system reclaiming the energy that was trapped in the ego. It feels like death because it is death. It is the end of the world as you knew it, and there is no comfort to be found in the ashes. When the personal structures fail, you are not left in a vacuum. You fall into the maw of the collective unconscious. This is the realm of the archetypes, the primordial patterns that have governed human experience since the beginning of time. You are no longer just a person having a bad year. You have become an actor in an ancient drama. You are the king being dethroned. You are the seeker lost in the desert. You are the sacrifice on the altar. The crisis has connected you to the universal suffering of the species, and the weight of it is staggering. You may feel the presence of the devouring mother, not your literal mother, but the archetypal force of the womb that becomes a tomb. It is the urge to crawl back into the dark, to give up, to let the waters of depression close over your head. It is a biological and psychic pull toward inertia. The archetypal storm is howling around you, and your little boat has been smashed to pieces. You are swimming in an ocean of symbols and myths, and if you do not know how to navigate, you will be drowned by the very forces that were meant to sustain you. The necessity of mental death cannot be overstated. We are terrified of the end of our identity, but the identity is the very thing that prevents us from experiencing the depth of being. The crisis is an intervention by the self, the totality of the psyche, against the ego. The self has decided that the ego's version of life is too small, too cramped, too dishonest. It is forcing a death so that a larger life might begin. But again, there is no rebirth in the sense of a happy ending. There is only the survival of the core. You are being stripped of your ornaments. You are being stripped of your illusions. You are being reduced to the fundamental elements of your nature. This is a brutal process, devoid of any sentimentality. The collective unconscious does not care about your comfort. It cares about its own expression through you. You are the crucible in which the alchemical work is being done, and the fire must be hot enough to melt the lead. If you resist the fire, you only prolong the agony. If you surrender to it, you risk being consumed entirely. There is no safe path.
If you survive the Negredo, if you pass through the maw without losing your mind entirely, you do not emerge better. You emerge different. You emerge with a cold, hard clarity that is often mistaken for cynicism by those who have never left the harbor. You have seen the foundation of the world, and you have seen that it is made of shadow and light in equal measure. The end of comfort is the beginning of a true existence. You no longer seek the easy answer or the quick fix because you know they are the tools of the prison maker. The future that lies before you is a terrible new horizon. It is terrible because it is empty of the old certainties. You can no longer believe in the inherent goodness of the world or the permanence of your own success. You have seen how easily the floor can give way. This realization is a heavy burden to carry. It separates you from the crowd. You see people chasing the same ghosts you used to chase, and you feel a profound sense of distance. You are a survivor of your own wreck, and the sea salt is still in your wounds. There is no hopeful ending here. There is only the integration of the impossible. You must learn to live with the shadow. You must learn to listen to the silence of the self. The crisis has not awakened you to a world of light and joy. It has awakened you to the reality of the struggle. It has given you back your soul, but the soul is a demanding and often painful companion. It requires you to live with an awareness of the abyss at all times. You will go back into the world. You will wear a new mask, because a mask is necessary to function, but you will never forget that it is a mask. You will perform your duties. You will engage in your relationships, but there will be a part of you that remains in the dark, watching, remembering the fire. The greatest awakening of your life did not come with a choir of angels. It came with the sound of your own heart breaking and the realization that you were finally, for the first time, truly alone. And in that loneliness, you found the only thing that cannot be taken away, the terrifying, beautiful, and indestructible fact of your own existence. The descent is over, but the ground is still shaking.